everyone, and welcome to another edition of Reactivated. Just backed into Refbot then. Still got his counter on. This actually brings us on to something a little bit later on in the episode. Thanks for joining us again. Let's get straight in then, shall we? And go over to a bit of Soundbot first. See if you can identify the clip from the sound.
Oh, that's demonic, and that's Evil Knievel! And in comes Shunt as well with a deadly axe, piercing and punctuating and puncturing.
Quite a lot of peppering on top of a certain robot. There's your clue for that one. So, answer will be revealed a bit later. Let's go on to our fantasy fight for this edition. We are opening the pencil case to reveal a house robot first, and a competitor who will be up against the house robot in question. Who is the house robot for this fantasy fight? Guess guessing answer. Oh, it's Refbot. Bear with. Let's do that again, shall we? Next house robots is Matilda. Might do Refbot, but let's do Matilda for now. That one is Series 4 Matilda with a chainsaw, but let's do Series 5 through to 10, shall we, with her flywheel. So Matilda is up against shake. Oh, out comes a robot there. Let's just give it a shake and produce completely at random. Oh, okay, right, Gabriel. Okay, from the reboot series, Gabriel against Matilda. That was quite an interesting fight, actually, because Gabriel was very difficult to get hold of, and actually the plasticky, foamy, whatever it was made of, was built to withstand impacts such as Matilda's flywheel. I think the closest we came to an actual flywheel against Gabriel, if I can remember, was Carbide. I mean, Carbide very nearly lost. And eventually, the disc and the power got through and destroyed Gabriel's wheels. But the actual robot was very difficult to get hold of. So, I dare I say it, I do think, because the difference here, Matilda's being a vertical flywheel, that Matilda would get to Gabriel and destroy and flip out the arena. So there we go. That was a very interesting fight, that. Matilda, here she is, would get her devastating flywheel and toss Gabriel clean out, who would put up a good fight, though, I have to admit. So there we are. Another win for the house robot, sadly. Let's move on to a what if. This particular what if is probably the most pivotal what ifs we have ever or are going to discuss, because this took place in Series 6, and we're just going to briefly talk about Matilda's flywheel, and if it had pitted Tornado in the semi-finals against Dominator 2, what would have happened? This was, what, 6 inches, maybe 6 or 7 inches off Tornado, wobbling and going into the pit here. Now, if Matilda was successful in this manoeuvre, Tornado would have gone out and Dominator would have gone through. So who would have Dominator been up against next? In the eliminator, of course, of Series 6, Firestorm. Now, this was a rematch from Series 4, it would have been. I don't think Dominator would win this particular fight, because to me, Dominator, although it had a very good time in Series 6, just wasn't as effective for me as it was in, say, Series 4 and 5. But this time, Firestorm would definitely defeat Dominator. I think Firestorm was a very good machine in Series 6. So Dominator would then have been up against, in the losers playoff, Terahertz. Terahertz would win that, so I think Terahertz would have come third, Dominator 4. Firestorm, of course, going through to the final then against Razer, and I think Razer would have won again. It's definitely one of the most pivotal what-ifs with the most consequences to happen from it. We were that much off Razer winning, literally. That much off Razer winning, I think, Series 6. 10 inches. The pit was just that closer to Matilda. We would have had Razer as a winner. So there we go. So we've just come off one of the most pivotal what ifs, and this is probably one of the biggest mistakes that happened in Robot Wars. This actually comes from a question. I was going to include this in the question section, realising, oh yeah, well, I've actually got a section for this. It was a question from RubyWit80 about my opinion of the first World Championship final. And did I agree with the decision? Well, I didn't actually. Razer was immobilised for longer than 30 seconds. Razer should have gone out. Razer was definitely immobilised for longer than 30 seconds in this fight. Now, we'll just get it up on screen here. We'll give it both a time together. And you can see here, Behemoth coming in, flips. Okay, so this is where Razer struggled a lot in the fight, and Behemoth was just on top of Razer. The timer counting up here, and remember, we're looking for the crucial 30 seconds, because if Razer is still on its back when 30 seconds hits, cease should have been called. But as you can see here, we're coming up now to 30 seconds. Razer is still on its side, and of course, it would have got up earlier, I think, if it wasn't for the mesh on the grill of the flame pit. But, you know, Behemoth was aware of this. They used the arena hazards well, and it prevented Razer from self-righting. And here is the moment. Never actually counted before, so thank you for raising this. I thought it was 30 seconds. Right here, we're on 50, 51, 52, 53 seconds Razer was on its back for. Didn't even occur to me. I knew it was very close to, but I've never actually counted how long it's been. Right now, correct me if I'm wrong, fellow Robot Wars fans, but if a robot is immobilised after 30 seconds, cease should have been called. In the earlier series, cease should have been called. So why wasn't it? And the producers didn't even bother cutting out bits of the fights to even make it look like it was less than 30 seconds until Razer got back onto its wheels. So what do we do with flaws? One of the biggest mistakes in such a crucial final. We flip them, don't we? Now, Razer wasn't ever flipped by the flaw flipper, so we have to go to Behemoth. Sorry Behemoth, wasn't your fault at all, you should have won that. Let's move on to another edition of the Robot Wars magazine. This was the second edition with the comic-y book style feel. You can see dead metal on the front. 3 tattoos. Now, unfortunately, I can't actually show you the tattoos in question because we used them at the time. And they were the house robots. I think it was Hypnodisc and Razer, Chaos 2 maybe, I think as well. And you just sort of put them onto your arm or wherever your head, whatever. And then they're just rubbed off with water. You know, it's just it's a good idea, I suppose, I think. But anyway, as we say, that was the thing that was free in this edition. Let's whiz forward. We have a nice welcome from Shunt and a picture of Thermidor in Heat 7. There we go, you see, just a little warm-up. It's a great picture, of course. That led very nicely onto Heat 7 of the Fourth Wars, featuring Thermidor, and the winner, of course, Thermidor. If you were silly enough to miss the transmission, it was in this issue. Then we have the Super Sergeant. We reckon Bash was tough enough as he was, but you thought differently. Well, to be honest, I mentioned before about Bash and how he diminished in quality, I think, in each series he was in. So I think he could have done with a bit of a makeover like this. So, yeah. Super Sarged. Super Sarged. Oh, Super Sarged. Let's play on words there. Now, another fantasy fight here. We had Spawn versus Agrabah. Who asked for this? I certainly didn't. Well, there we go. That's another page and a half done. Then we had Dread Hard, Centurion. This is just a team sheet. Just a team sheet, really, of 3 robots there again. Heat 8, Willy Big Cheese's Heat. Then we had again another one, a nice little Chaos 2 drawing section there, which I enjoyed. Robo fans wanted. Are you a fan of Robot Wars? The Robot Wars website wants to hear from you. The BBC is planning a Robot Wars night this year with everything from history of robot combat to replay some of the greatest battles. Oh my goodness me. BBC used to be brilliant, didn't it? There we go. And then more wars on the horizon. BBC Horizon, UK Horizons channel. There were more episodes of Horizons. It's given us an update about where to watch those episodes. UK Horizons? No idea. There we go. There's the Celebrity Robot Wars recap. How to kill Shunt. He was pretty easy target towards the end of the original series. And then another heat recap, just full of it. There was nothing really new or exciting in this edition at all. This was a nice photo of Craig and Julia, and we very rarely got to see actual proper photo shoots of the presenters in Robot Wars. That was quite nice. Then New Year's bash, there we go, New Year's roundup for what the House Robots plan to do in the new year. And then on the back, more letters, Dr. Zulu and a super shunt next time. So there we go, and Heat 8 of Series 4. There's your roundup for this edition of the Robot Wars magazine. Just before we do go to your questions, let's move on to the Soundbot answer.
Oh, that's demonic, and that's evil Knievel! And in comes Shunt as well with a deadly axe, piercing and punctuating and puncturing.
Yes, it was Panic Attack being peppered by Shunt in its heat. Bang, 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 bang. Well done if you got any of those right. Let's just go over to your questions now. We do have some time. The Growler Prowler. I love it. I noticed in your Extreme 1, so our Extreme 1 series of the Flipper Frenzy, that Firestorm is in the arena, but never fought. Back in a sec, let me review that. What an observation that is, Growler Prowler. I can only assume we decided that Firestorm just maybe wasn't good enough or exciting enough for that particular fight. Well observed. If you've got any more of those, please do send them through. I love stuff like that. Thank you for your question. Next we've got Delboy59. Were you ever paranoid about damaging Refbots when he had his counter and light? Absolutely terrified. Delby even, sorry, I got that one wrong. Yeah, as you can see, this is why I mentioned before, because I'd nudged, before I started filming this, nudged Refbot and he fell on the floor. Luckily, he's okay. Everything is still intact. There was once, yes, which was totally... I just wasn't expecting it. It was in Series 5, Heat 8, where Revolutionist, in the Heat Final, I think it was, where Tyrant flipped Revolutionist into Refbot. And you'll see the damage that Revolutionist did to Refbot. It totally destroyed half of the electrical circuit, and we had to pause it and at 20 minutes just to make sure it was okay to carry on. I flipped, because that's one thing that we very rarely did after Refbot had his edition of the counter and red and yellow cards. If a robot was going to attack, it would be very soft in the attack, so a very gentle flip or something like that. It would never be a direct flip, bang, because we were just terrified. So there we go. Yes, there was that one time. Thank you, Delby59. The Bot Builder, good to hear from you again. Your question is, do you think a robot should continue fighting if it escaped the pit or be deemed as eliminated? Great question. Yes, off the back of the fact that we did have the potential for robots to get out of the pit in the past. This, of course, yep, you very rightly picked up in the comment that our APD, we never saw it on telly, so this is our way of trying to get that across, that a robot could self-right from the pit. I think that robots should have had 30 seconds to attempt to self-right from the pit. And if they had the option, the feature, the weapon to do that, I think cease should only be announced after 30 seconds if they couldn't self-right from the pit. Simple as that. I know Cassius 2 was probably the closest we did get to that. And that is the cease. Wow. I've got 2 pages full of questions. Promise I'll get through them as soon as possible. Thank you all very much once again for watching, and we will see you very soon on Reactivated. Thank you.